I hope that each of you are doing well. Today, Tiffany and I are back to chat about the next step within our journey, our health. This year, we are embarking on a transformative experience, ascending to new heights and glowing up. In order to do this effectively, we thought it would be helpful to pinpoint areas of our life in which we need to elevate, gaining a better understanding to help us make the right moves that are sustainable and will position us to thrive in all that we do for the years to come. Last month, to kick things off, we focused on making sure that our mind was in the right place and that we were not leaning on limiting beliefs hindering our capability for growth, development, and achievement. Now that we have a better understanding as to what we should look out for and aligning this understanding with our core values, our next step is to ensure that our health is optimal so that we have the stamina to endure this continuous journey of living out all of our dreams and aspirations to the fullest. In order to help us, we have been reading our latest find, How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. Hopefully, you have had a chance to read it, and if not, you can always go back and check out on Proactive is the Way, episode 3, to get an overview. All right. Hey, Tiffany. How are
Hey, man.
how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, no complaints, doing very well. I'm a little what do you want to say? Very excited because last night we were at May's basketball game and right now they are in tournaments and they won their first game.
Go May! How many points did my niecey score?
Well, absolutely 0, but let me say those arms were everywhere. Stealing and blocking. She still has a lot of work to do with just the basic mechanics of basketball, but I do believe in time she'll get it. It's her second season, if you
Mhm.
will. She did recreation the first year, and now she's in club, and so she's still trying to understand what her strengths are, what her weaknesses are, and, after every game, I have her go through her top 3 areas for development
Mhm.
and areas where she feels like she's doing well. And so, I mean, it was awesome. But anyways, last night was absolutely amazing. I lost my voice because I was trying to tell the refs what to do. Not that they was listening. But, it was really exciting game. They were up for all 3 quarters.
Oh, wow.
In the final quarter, I believe it was the final quarter, the other team caught up, and so then they were tied, and
What?
oh
Oh, no.
my god, you were
Y'all didn't come this far to
yeah, what is going on?
y'all didn't work this hard to look.
But anyways, what is going on? Y'all just want me to be over here hollering at somebody, but in the end, they pulled it through. One of the, girls, she pulled it through for us, and I was really, really proud of her. She had a shot that went in, and she got fouled, and won. Oh, but they did it was awesome, though. Very, very awesome.
Did that.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're now where are you? All over the world? You in Greece?
Mhm.
Where are you at now?
Well, I don't want my haters to know.
Oh, true story, right? Everything gotta be done in secrecy, I'm telling you.
I mean,
I'm gonna talk about that later because I was like, "Dang, it really that really makes it really hard," because, like, even when you're seeking for help and things of that nature and everything has to be so secretive because you got so many people who are trying to pull you down. I
well, they just people like to sabotage your efforts because they don't have the courage to complete the things in their life they want, so they wanna prevent,
well
as many people as possible
yeah.
that are around them or that they feel, is, gonna take some sort of light, but there's enough light for everyone.
For everyone, and maybe not at the same level, right? But nothing stops you from working hard to get to a particular position within your life, and I'm like, if you spent as much time and energy hating and trying to hold someone back in your own life, doing something positive, then you would be where you want to be versus focusing on, holding someone back. But yeah, so it just bothers me that we have to live in such secrecy and we can't really be open to sharing. We have to keep our circle small. So I get that.
I find it extremely fascinating, though, that people will spend more time, um I mean, it's extremely fascinating to me that you would spend more time trying to figure out how to, sabotage, someone than to, like, um, refine your plan for your own life. Like, you so worried, like, but
That's a lot of energy though.
I mean, a lot. Like, who has time for
I'm
that?
for it. I think, man, I don't have time for that.
It's people that have time for it, obviously.
Do you? Do you? But and I'm gonna do me. But anyways, but yeah, so let's get into it today because this year we're gonna do some things. And I really want to start getting moving uh,
Mhm.
with
Keep going.
just to keep going and, progressing within my learning, etcetera. And I, realized as I put this podcast together for this season, that there were some certain areas, and of course, one of those was as it relates to health, Um, and I really wanna know, you know, we got our mind right in January. I really wanted to focus on how do we get our health right? And so, I actually, I'll tell you where I got this book from. It's this black guy. He has a vegan channel. And in his vegan channel, he talks about, how to make your own food. And he goes through so many different things with regards to how to make your own food. And veganize it, right? So trying to get away from milk, trying to get away from butter, those different things like that. And eggs, etc. So being more plant-based. And in the back on his shelf, he had this book. I didn't know nothing about it, but I was glad that I picked it up, and because it was just very intriguing. I'm like, he has on the back of his shelf, "How Not to Die," by Dr. Michael Greger, and I'll get you his name because I'm assuming he probably went on this path, because he read this book, right? So I'll see if I can find his name for you guys, and then I will share his channel because it's a pretty cool channel, but he's all plant-based, and so I follow him. But anyways, so we've been reading this book for this month, How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger and Jean Stone. I believe there's another author who helped. And, hopefully, Tiffany, I think you listened to it, right?
Mhm.
I
Seven
finally
17 hours.
I know, right? See, this is why I take a month long with these books, okay? I know that folks are like, "Read fast, read as many books as you possibly can," but I'm like, how do I digest and determine how this can work and impact me positively within my life if I'm just reading, 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 and there's no application, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, we took this entire month just to take our time, read it through, and see how we can best, digest it, and then, begin to apply it within our lives, right? So you read or you listened to it. Give me your take on it, just at a very high level, if you can rate this book, and we'll do it.
Yeah, I would give the book, a 3.
Okay.
Reason being, like, I was after because we kind of prematurely discussed,
Mhm,
some of the books, not necessarily contradictions,
mhm.
but the book started out real strong for me,
Okay.
uh, really dense with information,
Mm,
but as it broke itself down into parts,
mhm.
um, different, systems, organ systems, it was losing density, the
Okay.
density of information.
Okay. Okay.
I'll go more into that, hopefully, I'll be able to expand on that thought, but as explicit and as, concise and clear as it was in the beginning,
Mhm.
failed to keep that same momentum throughout each chapter, if that makes sense. Like, plant-based nutrition,
Mhm.
I was sold. I
Okay.
was sold. But then when we kinda prematurely discussed the book and you're like, "Well, here it said this,"
Mhm.
and I don't know, like, you had some not disagreements, but you had some uncertainty about what the author was trying to portray when he's trying to teach about, plant-based nutrition.
Mhm.
Um, I don't I also think that they could have been a little bit more explicit about vegan versus vegetarian,
Okay.
because vegan is actually totally different than vegetarian. It's not the same.
Mhm. Well,
Um, and
because veganism that has no meat byproducts, right? But vegetarianism, you are open to drinking milk,
right.
butter,
Animal,
eggs,
fats and
byproducts, right? The
right,
byproduct,
correct.
not the animal itself. Mhm.
So, so I just thought that, it probably deserved a 3. I also was thinking too, just because, with everything that's going on in the US right now, like how everything is being politicized, I don't see how this, physician didn't get in trouble. I mean, he has his PDF is like 145 pages of references.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't super helpful, which I was surprised about that too, for your supplemental information to be 145 pages of references. Like your reader is not going to go and reference that.
Mhm.
Like so, I thought they could have did much better notes as far as that was concerned.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm sold on a 3 on this book. I was recommending it. I started recommending it to patients as some support
Mhm.
for because I have a lot of diabetics. I have a lot of hypertensive patients. I have a lot of men with prostate cancer. Um, I have not so many with not not so many with breast cancers. I don't have very many with breast cancers. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, I was a 3,
Okay, you had a
a
3.
solid 3.
Okay, I was at a 4. So I
Mm,
and more so because I don't really have a medical background, and I'm not going to, pretend like I know the ins and out of everything from a medical
you're
perspective.
fine.
But yeah, but I I did like the book. I did share with you where I had some concerns, and it's only because I love I love being vegetarian, so I'm vegetarian, everyone. Every now and again, I might flex and eat a piece of chicken. That's when I
You
lose
better flex and eat that piece of chicken.
I
We gonna
lose
talk about chicken. I haven't touched chicken since, well, I'm lying, it was some chicken in my rice the other day, but I haven't touched chicken since reading the book.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. No, I touched some chicken, but, every now and again, like, I get a little weak in the knees for some grilled chicken, and so
Oh, weak in the knees for grilled? Okay.
yeah, yeah, girl, I love me some chicken, girl. That's that but it's really the only chicken and salmon are really the only types of meat that I do eat, and tuna, but yeah, I gave it a 4 only because there's always room for improvement, right? But
Mhm.
honestly, he has other books out there, so probably in his other books, maybe the compilation of them all, I can put him at a 5, because he does have other books out there about, how not to age, and
Oh,
then
yeah, he has a whole series.
a whole series,
Yeah, but
I'm sure if we put them all together, he'd probably be 5 and above, but I have not gotten that far. So I'm just doing this based on the knowledge that I have right now, but I gave him a 4. I really will tell you, I can tell that he thoughtfully planned, though, out the content, and his delivery, up to who is going to narrate the book, because I not only read the book, but I also listen to it while I'm reading. I let the audio read to me essentially, but I follow along so that I can do highlighting and things of that nature. It just helps for better comprehension for me. But even the way it was narrated, I loved it because I looked forward to opening up my book in the morning and just really diving in and hearing what he had to say. Um, and then what I thought was really good that he did, because, and I know that you said that 145-page PDF uh,
mhm.
that was there, but he takes that information and he breaks it down even more. He breaks it down even more through his website. So he has a website where he follows up to provide further support and substantiate his research by providing free online resources. There's no paywall for this information. So if there was a question.
Yeah, it's never been but he's never, wanted to be compensated for, sharing his information.
This is what makes him so beautiful. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you are a gift from above," because who does that, right? Most people are like, this is my knowledge. I'm going to make you pay for it." But he has really been a true servant leader in this regard. And I truly appreciate that because there's a lot of people, especially in lower socioeconomic classes, who just don't have the means to be able to financially pay for everything. And
Yeah.
what first of all, I just feel like anything that has been given to you as a gift, to help others, there should be an element of it that you share freely because it's a gift that was
Well,
given.
isn't that what the fight is right now in the US?
I don't know what the fight is right now. I'm so disengaged with you, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just doing my thing. Whatever y'all saying, y'all here, and I'm not paying attention. I need not do that. That's very, um, how do I want to say, dangerous. But I'm just like, the US is just, what are we doing? Anyways, that's another topic for another day, as you say.
For another show.
Yeah, for another show. But anyways, going back to him and, what he's sharing and just providing information so freely, especially as it relates to health. I think that that's been a true blessing and a gift. I even recommended this book to my boss. He had shared, and I was so happy he shared this because I would have never known, that his mom was going through some, medical things. And I was like, and how she was going to stop treatment, and I was like, "Oh my god." I need to give this to him. I need to give this to him. This will be great information because
Mhm.
I didn't want her to give up. I don't know his mom, but I know him and I love him. I love him. I love what he does. I love how he educates us. He's so open, this big burly man.
Mhm.
Who during Christmas he wears like these lights all over his beard. It's just I mean, he's just so and I just when he started talking about his mom, I couldn't stop crying during one of our team meetings. I couldn't even function.
Oh, no.
I was like, "Oh my gosh." But I after the meeting, I was like, No, this was for you. This is for you. I have to give this to you." So, I gave it to him because I hope that even though she's stopping the conventional treatment, for her particular, disease, that she will still look into alternative.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because 'cause it's interesting
go
that
ahead.
you say that because, when in medicine, when we're treating people, we kind of treat people from one model,
Mhm.
and, we make patients believe that, there's just this hard set rule when all of it is really just recommendations and guidelines, but there is not a set we shouldn't really believe that there is this set standard for every individual. For example, one of my medical assistants, her father just passed from a curable colon cancer, but
Wow.
he didn't tolerate the chemotherapy.
Mm.
So, besides of all the mental toll that, when your health starts declining and, the mental toll that that has on you, the depression that it causes, and then you're also going through treatment and you've never been in a hospital possibly because Black people don't really trust, medical, don't really trust healthcare practitioners, and so, you have all these different elements, and then you have this person also trying to heal, and we're telling them, "Oh, this is the only way to heal." But their body could be telling them something else. Like, "No, this is actually not the way you're gonna heal. You would heal this way." Like we get communication internally,
Mhm.
but it's kind of being overridden by the experts, the professionals.
Mhm.
So it overrides your thought where yeah, I could just change my diet because his cancer was actually curable, um, but he never tolerated the chemotherapy. So she was telling me that she believes he died from the chemo, which is true. He probably did.
Mhm.
Like he started having symptoms like in his feet, in his hands. Chemo is really
Yeah.
chemo is extremely
Yeah.
it's caustic.
Mhm.
It's like chemo is just very strong. But why wasn't one of the treatments to improve your diet?
Mhm.
Let us do this part, and I don't know all of the details of his case, but, it was really sad because it was a curable form of cancer,
Yeah.
uh, but we almost get people to thinking that there's only this one model for care, and it's not.
Yeah, I will share with you, when I worked in, technology, I was supporting this technology group, and I had this project manager who sat next to me. He was just so he was like a comedian. But anyways, I don't know what I said, or maybe I was going to a doctor's appointment and I was, coming home, or I was coming to work late or something like that, and I walked in and we were talking about the doctors and stuff like that, and one thing he said to me that stuck with me, I mean, like, stuck with me, like, look, he said, "You know, doctors, they don't call it practicing medicine for nothing. What they're doing is practicing." They don't know either. I was like,
Well, now I don't know about the I don't they don't know either part.
"No." So I didn't take it in that sense, right? I didn't say they don't know, but what I understood him to what he meant was that they're trying to figure it out along with you. So they're going through while they're trying to help you with your condition, they are giving you this, the standard, right? And most doctors stay there from what I've seen. They stay at
They
the standard.
they
They
do.
they give you
They're they don't trust themselves enough to venture out past, "Okay, like, let's critically think past," what I'm telling you that well, just like what you said, the standard one model of care. And interesting that, they have these race-based ways of prescribing, like, even high blood pressure medications to Black folk.
Mhm.
Um, come to find out that is actually killing Black people from the race-based standards, but we can have we can have a talk about that, another day, because we talking about nutrition.
Mhm.
But, I lost my train of thought, but I said all that to say, like, the model of care is a Eurocentric model of care. It doesn't tap into the fact that you have all these different, groups, ethnic groups,
Mhm.
all these different groups of people whose anatomy, yeah, DNA wise, yeah, we're the same. We're all part of the human race, etc. But we're failing to communicate entirely like how Black people's kidneys are different.
Mhm.
Like they have an adjusted like estimated glomerular filtration rate. You'll see like EGFR, creatinine, and bun on your labs.
Okay.
And underneath the EGFR, it'll say African American. So,
Because
like, there was
Right.
there was even a different value or different reference range
Mhm.
when it came to Black people,
Okay.
which would either cause therapeutic recommendations to be too late or too soon, or so maybe it's too late.
Mhm.
And so then by the time you're reaching those patients, they can be in a stage of chronic kidney disease
Mm.
or whatever. And we don't do it for A1C. We don't do it for diabetes. We do it but we definitely do it when it comes to hypertension. Um and I shouldn't say we because I'm reading more now on it
Mhm.
and I'm trying to stay away from it
Mhm.
and using more therapeutics um, that are preserving the kidneys.
Mhm.
Um, like for example, if you really think about a diuretic, right?
Mhm.
If somebody has kidney disease, why would you want them on a diuretic? A
Mhm.
diuretic pulls water. So essentially you drying out their kidney. That's almost what it basically And not almost, that's basically what it if you think about what a diuretic is.
Right.
So then you see these people with dehydration and, um, high creatinine,
Mhm.
very low GFRs, um, because the kidneys are, not working properly.
Right. Right.
Uh, and part of it is iatrogenic. We're causing it by, not educating, not teaching about nutrition. It's so crazy because as I was looking back, I was like, "You know what? I had one course in nutrition."
That's what Okay, so that's what he shared, right? So in the book,
Yeah,
and
and when he said that
even the medical schools even the medical schools, they do not
that's
they
not the focus.
yeah, it's not the focus. The focus is really to, build or they've built a medical system around incentivizing doctors to treat symptoms, right? But that's capitalism, and I say this all the time. Everything we do, if you pay attention to how the US operates, even our social program is
Mhm.
capitalistic.
It's choosing but they choose that over life and or, like, you'd
Which is
rather
unbalanced, right? It's too much. It's too much capitalism, right? Everything has to be about making money, and I get, okay, well, that's why we are um, from a developmental perspective, a highly developed country, and we have so many opportunities. Okay, great. Yes, I get that. But from a moral and value perspective, are we doing the best that we can for each other?
Mm-mm.
Sometimes we got to put money aside. Sometimes we got to put our ego aside.
Mhm.
Ask, are we doing the best that we can for the greater good?
Mhm.
And then over time, you will start to see the benefits. I mean, I just think to myself, I mean, how much do you need? Do you need to actually live a good life?
Well, I saw an example, not to get too much off topic. I saw an example that, this man, let's just say this man, gave. He said that, for a person, to, have $100 million, it would take, like, 1,285 years, um, for the average person making only $80,000 a year or something. It would take them 1,285 years to even get to $100 million. And then he was going into how, the billionaires, and we've seen it, they keep flashing it across, the media about how, just those, for, billionaires alone, Amazon, Tesla, Facebook, and, who's the 4th one? Is it only 3? There's a 4th one. Besides the fact, really sidetrack here, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife makes as many billions as he does when he's selling things on Amazon. She's busy making billions in the background, and then she's turning around and, in a real philanthropic, way, she's donating it to Black people.
It's the thing, isn't
she's
it?
already donated 19 billion, and she's already overinvested with the HBCUs. Look it up.
Mhm. No, I know that she's been, philanthropic and giving a lot of his money. No,
Well, it doesn't matter. She probably was, you know what, to be honest, she was probably putting up with really bad sexual intercourse in her, relationship. She was probably putting up with a lot of bullshit. He probably had a really small fucking penis, and yeah, that's probably the truth of the matter. So you do owe her those billions for putting up with your bullshit. Your sex probably wasn't even good, sir. We don't give a fuck how many billions you make.
no, Imma have to clip that out.
You can clip it out. I don't care.
So stupid.
I'm telling the honest truth. She deserves every 1 billion she makes for every billion he makes. I hope the ratio is a 1 to 1.
Oh,
Could
wow.
you imagine having to put up with that? You put up with raising his kids, putting up with bad bed relationship, and then you're gonna come and try to trade me in for a build up for a build a body?
Mm, mm.
Get out of here. But anyway, let me go back to let me go back to the
Kinda
man.
lost for words. I'm like, "Now what was we talking
We were talking about the man who said it would take 1,285 years for the average person making $80,000 a year to reach $100 billion.
Just about, though, how yeah, how much do we need in order to live not even live if you wanted to live above and beyond, but just how much do we need? I feel like we just
No,
we
and
not
and I don't even think that needs to be the conversation. I think I really want to start like way way back. Let's go way way back.
Mhm,
How did we even get here? Why are we here?
mhm.
Like, no one's looking at that, and then it's like everybody's missing, like, the biggest issue. Like, they're talking all around the subject, and nobody's ever getting to any like, "Let's get to resolution, please, for some death starts happening."
Well, it's funny because I was, listening to Lauryn Hill, and she says in her song, "We have to live the book. We have to live the book." Almost like we are not allowed to leverage common freaking sense to circumvent or to steer clear of what has been prophesized, right? You and it bothers me because I think to myself, when we live the book, so to speak, and we don't leverage the gifts that's been given to us to help us see what is destined for the future and leverage that understanding using our gifts that have been provided to us to turn things around, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice, an injustice to our success. I don't think we were created to live this type of life. I really don't. And I only can say it just from my personal experience because I shared with you, I don't think I was supposed to live this long. I think I was supposed to die a long
Why
time ago.
do you say that?
I don't know. I just have this
She
feeling.
had this fear because her mom died when she was 6, so
Mommy said the same thing. I
mhm,
don't feel like I think I was supposed to be dead maybe 5 years ago. I wasn't supposed to live long, but I told you I have the gift of intuition, right?
mhm.
I can intuit pretty good. And when I felt that I wasn't feeling well, I was still well, but I felt like something was coming on. And I used that to help reshape the the trajectory of my destiny. Instead of going south, I went north. I went up. And I just feel like we have to be careful when because we're guided by religion in this country, or we like to say. We like to say. But,
Insan
huh? Say that again?
it's insanity.
It really is insanity because if you pay attention and if you truly read the book, you would understand that these gifts were given in order for us to use them, not to abuse them, which is why I think our school system is failing us. Because our school systems should teach us to use them appropriately, right?
But how can they?
Well, no, if you're hiding the fact that we even freaking have them, like stop hiding. This is like so absurd. But anyways, to get back on track, we have these gifts that help to steer us away from danger, away from hazards. You have people like Dr. Greger, Michael, who who were brought here to give us his gift in which he's sharing with us freely. How the way he's able to take information, synthesize it so that we have the capabilities to digest it and understand it in a way that's going to help us, right? And so
Mhm.
it's very interesting to me how I just witness the way that we live. And it's so unnecessary. It's very
It
unnecessary.
it's self-destruction,
It's
though.
basically self-destruct. Like the US is literally leading itself to live out revelations. And
And
I'm like,
I don't know if you could call it I don't know if you can call it revelations. I don't think we're ever gonna see a white horse come falling from the sky or whatever's in Revelations. I
"Hey,
don't know.
any of that." That is all
I don't think, there's gonna be, like, some golden s horns. I don't know. Whatever is in Revelation, I don't know necessarily that I believe that, but I do believe that the evil is at an all-time high, and people are so invested. They are so it is it is actually,
and so
tiring.
invested. Would you say?
It's tiring.
It's tiring, but
It's exhausting to even think about, to talk about,
yeah,
yeah.
like, why are we doing this when we have the capabilities to be great, as our president said? Um, but
Your president, I don't what? Power, huh?
I'm not claiming them, but, and so I know that I just think that we have to get better at being more mindful that, taking that utilitarian approach and making sure that we are doing the best for each other and putting our ego aside. And as Dr. Greger I hope I'm saying his name right, but
Mhm.
Dr. Greger has done,
Mhm.
servicing each other and being open to seeing growth in each other and
Mhm.
not leading people astray so much. It's mind-boggling about how this scarcity mindset exists in the most
It
developed
is I
country.
mean, it is.
Like we developed, I mean, why are we having a scarcity mindset in the first place? But we have too many resources to think about scarcity, you know and if we were very mindful about keeping our home clean, paying more attention about the things that we desire and working towards that versus what someone else is doing and why are they getting ahead, we would be so much further along in our country. I really do believe that.
And I don't think it's so much about, like, enforcing, that belief, like, about, scarcity than it is about power.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, power. But
Mhm.
they have that scarcity mindset because they want what?
Mm.
They want to have that level of power
Mhm.
for you. And when you want that level of power, why do you desire that power? Where is that coming from?
Mhm.
That
The idea that, yeah, well,
that
back to
you're going to be
scarcity,
by
that
fear,
yeah,
scarcity. Yeah.
or that somebody has to be the lowest man on the totem pole, or that somebody has to be oppressed. It's very you
Ex For me to be there, for me to have that power, you can't be there, right?
right. You know, there is somebody, a lady on, social media, and she talks about America as a business.
It is a business.
Yeah.
That's what I
No.
said, it's capitalism. We every single thing, even our social structure it's a business. Because 'Cause I'll tell you, I was on that. Remember, I was on welfare, and I had to go to these classes, and I was so floored. I couldn't wait to get up out of this system. I was like, "Somebody gonna get me up out of this system before I get stuck here?" These women were literally coming in, "Oh, I gotta do this class in order for me to get my check," and I was like, "Ah, but you're supposed to be doing this class to equip you so you don't need so you're doing it just so you can get it? Oh my god, somebody get me out of here before I get stuck." That's all I kept saying. "Take my god dang on food stamps away. I don't want 'em." You know, like, what is going on? But everything is structured to keep us in a position where we don't advance, to keep us low so that whoever the powers that be can retain their power. And it's just it's scary, and no one can see, and no one can see. And I'm just going to go back to that whole Dick Gregory comment that quote he said, if you took all the liquor stores off every corner of every street, we're so inebriated, whether it be liquor, medicine, and then you've got our egos wrapped all around it. We can't see.
Mhm.
Wool is over our eyes, blind, right? But anyway, so to get back on track, I wanted to talk about just this book because we really want to focus on our health, and we are very, very happy that Dr. Greger took it upon himself to say,
Mhm.
"Hey, we want to make you great, and these are some ways that you can do that." And in this book, as we had shared, it's just full of so much very good information,
Mhm.
a lot of information, right? And you even alluded to it earlier that it just has so much information that it started to kind of fall short in some
Mhm.
areas for you. But so, with that notion in mind, help me to understand how we can fully digest the information. And from your perspective, how would you recommend one tackles this book?
So, what I how I benefited from this was, taking the main focus because, some content is just loud and clear, right? And it's normally loud and clear because the author will repeat, the same content, or it'll be like a underlay, right? They'll have an underlayment, with each chapter, and how, uh, uh, um, everything went back to the power, of plant-based nutrition.
Mhm,
So in every chapter, he, uh, gives, like the liver chapter, I was hoping he would give a little bit more information about the liver, and,
you can go on his website though, because 'cause I'm sure that he probably has.
yeah, I didn't go to the website. Um, but, just the fact that, there's power in plant-based nutrition.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't agree with the whole vegan, but I'm on board with the vegetarian, and I know that you can make, vegan food out of organic, vegetables, but
Mm.
it's all the other stuff that goes into that for, vegan food. I don't know,
Give me an example, what do you mean?
they use a lot of preservatives. It's still highly preserved.
Mhm.
When they make have you ever followed you follow someone, and he makes, vegan dishes, and, they're using,
No, but his is whole food, plant-based. So and I think that's what Dr. Greger is focused on, not the vegan foods that are, that you find in, packaged or that's been processed. He's basically saying, "Stay on the outer aisles of the grocery store." Have you ever heard that? When
yes, and that's true.
don't venture so much into the center, but stay on the outskirts of the
Mhm,
grocery store, right?
right.
Um, so yeah, but you were saying veganism. Go ahead, continue.
But no, let me just go back to, let me stay on track 'cause, I know time is, uh, ticking.
Mhm,
Um, Plant-based nutrition and how, well, first off, I think, that you would tackle the book in areas where you wanna see the most improvement. So start there first.
mhm,
So like I was communicating to you how I was like, "There's something going on with my liver," or, like, and that can be from cholesterol, that can be from sugar, because, patients don't really understand, not know, they know, but they understand, do they comprehend how sugar and also fat, impacts, our organs?
mhm,
So what that ends up doing is it ends up lining the organs, right?
mhm,
So namely like the liver, you've heard of fatty liver, you've heard of non-alcoholic fatty liver, you've heard of fatty liver, related to um, um, high consumption of sugars.
okay,
So sugar turns to fat in the blood, and when sugar turns to fat in the blood, what happens with that? Fat ends up lining our vessels.
mm,
It lines organs. When fat lines the organs, it makes the organ ineffective. The organ is not going to function the way it was designed. The liver has a huge responsibility in metabolizing
mhm,
drugs. There's something called first pass metabolism, where everything that goes in the mouth
mhm,
goes down the stomach, has to pass through the liver, and then out through the kidneys to be filtered out of the body, right? But if the liver, is lined with fat, it's not able to do that. The other thing that it impairs is the effective, use of the body for insulin, the hormone insulin.
okay,
So when your body has a lot of fat, meaning, and not your body, but when cells have fat,
mm,
that prevents the insulin, um, from getting rid of the circulating, blood sugar. And so blood sugar that doesn't get inside the cell ends up circulating in the bloodstream. So you have this high volume of, blood sugar, and and sugar is a huge molecule. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Sugar is a huge molecule. So what it does is it destroys your vessels, and then that's how it, accelerates heart disease. That's how it accelerates brain disease. That's how it accelerates kidney disease. That's how it damages the eyes.
Mm,
That's why you see diabetics who are blind, who
mhm,
have kidney disease, end up on dialysis,
mhm.
have diabetic stroke because the sugar is so high, it ruins the nervous system,
So let me share something with you, and this is why I said,
and
why
it causes atherosclerosis, sorry.
atherosclerosis. Okay.
Mhm,
This is why I said when we read and digest these type of books, we have to be really careful because, as you mentioned, you have the concern about veganism, but you spoke as from it from
mhm,
a processed food veganism. He is really focusing on whole foods, plant based,
uh-huh,
which is what I focus on. I don't like to buy a lot of processed foods.
mhm,
But one of the things that I thought about when I was reading this book was when I hear individuals say they are juicing, right? For me, I will never juice, ever, because I need the fiber. People don't realize that when you juice, you remove the fiber.
mhm,
And that is very dangerous for me. And that's why
mhm,
we always have to, when we read these things and we digest these things, we have to have an understanding with regards to how our bodies digest food. We have to, or how it interacts with our body. And
mhm,
that's why, I focus so much on having a level of discernment, not just taking everything at face value as to what individuals say that you should do, but
mhm,
really digesting it, understanding your history, understanding your background before
mhm,
you dive into something. Because we just can't take blanket advice and say, "Oh, yes, this can apply to me," because it can't.
right,
I did a vegan diet while I was going through this 90 challenge, calisthenics challenge.
mhm,
I will tell you, the first month, I did a vegetarian diet. And it was like, "Oh, second month, let me try a vegan diet." I lost a lot of weight,
mhm,
a lot of weight. But what I started to see was my face started sagging, my boobs started sagging, my stomach, everything just started going south. I was like, heck no, that stuff, I'm not 50 yet. Good Lord, like I don't need everything start sagging and after some, and I know that maybe in time it would have readjusted, but I'm not waiting for that. I said, "Oh no, something is not right." So I picked back up vegetarianism in the third month and I loved it because I started filling out, my boobs started coming back, and I was like, I need fat. I need, like there were certain things that I need. And I'm not a doctor. I don't, I don't have a dietitian, etc. And so I just knew how my body would react to it, right? And so to go back to my question with regards to this book, how you should digest it, it's definitely an amazing resource, right?
it is a really good resource.
It's a really good resource, and if you couple the website with the resource, I'm sure that it will be very valuable for a lot of individuals. Um, you know, but what I would encourage folks, because it is something, as you mentioned earlier, you can just go through, okay, I want to focus on my kidneys. I want to focus on heart disease. Oh, I want to
Mhm,
focus on cancer and just focus on that respective area. But I would encourage folks, please read it from front to back first, right? And then go back and
mhm,
review certain areas, that really spoke to you, because what I did like was, sometimes he would reference one disease within another, and I think it's good to have an understanding of that disease when he references it. But really it serves as a great resource. I can't wait to read it again. I'm definitely going to be reading this
I'm
again.
gonna listen. I've been listening to it still just to, like, pick out, um, different, different information that I find helpful and that I can use for my patients so that they know, There are other ways actually. Medicine is actually not the only way.
Right,
But and we used to fear, right, teaching this way, because, we're taught in school,
right.
put them on a pill.
Put them on.
Um, but just like yesterday, I diagnosed, this lady with new onset diabetes, but I didn't start on medication.
Okay.
And I'm of the mindset now that I'm going to just if they are able to do some modifications with their lifestyle, change their diet, participate in a routine exercise regimen,
Mm,
uh, uh, manage their weight, because
okay.
weight is really important.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, Keeping a normal, body mass index is, like, super important. But, then I'm allowing patients to try that first,
Okay.
and then when they come back for, like, a 3-month follow-up, then I'm like, "Okay, here are your numbers.
Okay.
This is what this indicates, and this is what this is gonna mean over time for you." I even separated by, race. I
Right.
do,
Okay.
because, and let me share this one example with you real quick. I don't wanna get off topic, but there was a patient I was telling her about, silver sneakers, because she's 55 plus,
Okay.
and I was trying to tell her, because the excuse from people is that, "Hey, I don't have access. I can't afford a gym membership."
Mhm.
And s But I think it's the lack of information, like, people do not understand, um, all the power that all the benefits and all the power that's in that little small card that you carry around in your pocket when
Mhm.
you could just call. So, anyway, she called and she actually got on silver sneakers, and so now she's working out daily.
Okay.
But I was saying that to say that what did you ask me? I'm sorry.
Well, I was saying earlier no, I was just saying earlier about how well, let me go back because what was that? I was sharing about how you shared we can go through the book and focus on
Right.
one specific area, at a
So I
time.
was
'Cause
Yeah,
you said, "Hey, I've been still listening to the book, picking out certain
yeah. For
that."
diabetes especially,
Okay.
because diabetes is huge, and in California alone, like 46% of Californians have diabetes.
Wow, that is pretty high.
Mhm, and then by
But it
like,
take
something about, like, 2030 or 2050, like, over half of the US will have diabetes.
wow,
Mhm.
that
Yeah, diabetes is actually very, very dangerous. Like, I feel like it's a cancer.
okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
wow.
It it it, um it registers to me as like a slow growing cancer.
Mm,
But anyway,
right.
um yeah, so yeah, that's how I did the book. So I broke it down based off of what I found to be important:
Mhm,
liver, kidneys, heart,
right.
brain. I separated it in my mind that way, to break down the information and for the information to be useful. Because when I'm doing these readings and we're sharing this knowledge with one another, I like to be able to use it because I want to diversify my teaching with patients, to not so much of you have really rigid, in some places, you have really rigid protocols, you have really rigid ways. Like Kaiser is an entity that does this.
Okay.
They, they teach their medical providers to practice in a certain way. So they have a box
Mm,
that they place them in, and that's where you stay, or you're not part of this entity. Which is why, of course, I'm a contractor.
right. Yeah,
Why I work independently.
yeah.
But,
That's a
um
thing that you are starting to because I remember you was not always like that. You were very
no, I wasn't.
and I was like, "She's very prescriptive. She needs to be more well-rounded." I don't know medicine, but I just kept saying, "I want her to be more well-rounded." You know,
Yeah,
I want you to focus on what you've been taught, But I also want you to realize that what you've been taught is technically what we call alternative medicine. It should be, but we've called it the mainstream conventional medicine. And the more natural medicines that history that we've learned throughout history is technically, or it should have been, the conventional. And then
Mhm.
these are, if your condition is invasive or if it's very difficult because this conventional, natural, holistic way could not support you in the way that you needed for effective healing, then we are going to implement this. You
We
understand?
would, but honestly, we would never even have to. Yeah, you're right. We are going backwards. We do work from it from a backwards, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Because our bodies heal naturally, right?
they do, but
Mhm.
to an extent. But here's the thing: if nutrition was priority, right, in every stage of our life, like we had very good nutrition.
Mhm.
Our parents cooked every single day.
Right.
Like we didn't miss a meal, and then we weren't always, and we did eat out because we
But
played
not a
sports.
lot, which is
Mm-mm.
which
We had fresh food.
so, like, angry with mom because 'cause I'm like, "Where did you get this
Where
meat?"
did that come from?
Oh,
Yeah, but I think
yeah.
that's convenience. I think that's convenience.
Mhm,
But I do believe that it is a backwards mentality that we have, because why wouldn't nutrition be priority
mhm,
every stage? And you know what? Not to keep honing in on what's going on in the US, but in the US, with them taking that piece out of schools,
mhm.
like attacking the schools with that, and the nutrition, you're gonna see a lot more people sick, because it really does all start with nutrition. I tried it on myself, and that's what I was gonna tell you. So, last week or the week before, I said I'm not eating out. I didn't eat out one single time.
Okay,
All
good.
I did, I prepped my food, and
Mhm,
I ate salads the entire week. So I started checking my blood sugar.
mhm.
Now, the previous week, my blood sugars were in like 110, 112.
Okay,
And on the machine, it'll give you a smiley face or a frown.
okay.
So it's always frowning. I was like, "Oh, okay. Let me see," because Dr. Greger said if you're more plant-based,
Mhm.
and I forget the mechanism of action, but I forget the mechanism,
Okay,
but the if you're more plant-based and you're worried about your numbers,
okay,
you'll see your numbers go down.
okay.
So I was checking my blood sugars,
Mhm.
never over 93.
Very good, okay.
Yeah.
What's the
So,
what's the average? Because I don't.
65 to 99 is when you have a fasting blood sugar, you
Okay,
want 65 to 99, or just making sure that the number doesn't go over 110.
okay, the number level 110. Okay, very
Yeah. So, but yeah,
very good.
it was just a little experiment that I did for myself, just to try out what he was recommending.
Okay.
I think I know these things, just application of them. And I think that the healthcare consumer today actually does know these things,
Mhm,
but it is the power to execute them, or the power to apply them.
mhm.
Uh, may or may not, it just may not evolve for them because they don't have the right kind of support. Like,
Okay,
I have the right kind of support because daily I'm dealing with patients, and daily I'm always engaged in healthcare. I'm always engaged in health topics, or, improving life through healthy eating.
okay,
Um, so I'm always engaged, my radar is high for that, and especially now because getting to an age where cancer is an all-time high, Colon cancers are all-time high. Colon cancers are showing up in people younger than 50 because the mark for um, testing for colon cancer was like 50. I'm sorry. Now they've lowered the age to 45. So
Okay.
now you should be doing colon cancer screening. You should be doing colon cancer screening at 45. Um, and then, if that comes back positive, then of course, you have to have a colonoscopy. I mean, they're finding polyps and cancer in 30-year-olds. I
Wow.
had a 32-year-old with breast cancer. So like you know,
Yeah.
it's it's it is definitely it's easier to and I started off with diabetes, but it and I feel that
Mm.
sugar is the culprit
Culprit of it
for
all.
disease, of it all. Like, but we gonna consume our sugar. We gonna consume it.
Well, and sugar naturally is going to because everything turns into glucose, right? If you think about every single thing we eat, and
Everything has carbs, yeah.
it's all carbs,
Uh-huh.
right?
It's just the different carbs though. It's simple versus complex.
Simple versus complex. But what I realized, I was like, man, even if you go and you're being vegan or vegetarian, all your plants are going to turn into sugar. Everything is designed to turn into sugar. It's just the way that your body metabolizes that sugar, right?
Mhm.
And so you have to be very cognizant of with regards to how is your body being impacted by the things that you digest, by the things that you are consuming. And some veganism may work for some folks, but veganism may not. I hear folks and they say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go on a watermelon juice fast." I'm like, "Yeah, that worked for you, but I'll be that." Never in a day would I ever do something like that because I know for a fact, we're predisposition for diabetes, right?
Mhm.
I said I would never do no dumb stuff like that because that don't
But
work.
no, in the book, he even says that you're not predisposed. That there may not be a genetic component for
No,
diabetes.
there is a genetic component, but we have the ability to control it.
To control the genetics
To
from
control the genetics. We have a predisposition, but what you are going on is the quote, and we're about to get to that one here in a moment. But while it doesn't have to be destiny, is what it's might be predisposition for, but it's not something that don't have the capabilities to control.
Mhm.
It's within our power, our faith, our fate is within our power. And it all deals with what we put on our plate every single day, right? So
Right.
we have to be very cognizant about, what we put in our mouth, what will impact us negatively, positively. And we can't just always on a diet, um, jump onto some new what do you call them, invention or new plan without fully taking in account of our background, right? We
Right.
talk about critical thinking, where we
Right.
that art where we okay, get better at doing it. Let me jump into the three most profound teachings that you found in this book and why they were so interesting. And just in the essence of time, you don't have to do three. But what were some of the three areas that you were like, oh my God, this was amazing information.
Well, the content that he put about supplements
Okay.
and then the most profound teaching again for me was the plant-based nutrition and diabetes.
Okay.
Um, how you can basically send diabetes into remission without even using medication
Right.
at all.
Doing
Like,
this through your diet, right?
correct.
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah. So when I was On the when he was talking about supplements, I found that to be so true because it actually aligned with the conversation that I had with one of the physicians about, supplementing.
Okay.
And you always get a lot of patients that come in. You get first off, the last FQHC that I was, uh, um, helping out
Mhm.
had a lot of young males coming in and were using creatine.
Creatine. Mm,
Mhm. They were using creatine, but it was causing a lot of health problems.
really
Um, well, because these supplements aren't,
related, and they don't
pure and they're not. Yeah.
they're not and they don't
So
really provide you what I noticed about supplements is based on your weight, your height, your back they don't provide you adjustments.
well, and you have to read for the adjustment, right?
Right.
So if somebody is not skilled,
Mhm.
they're just, you like, "Oh, they're just it's like a fad," or it's just like a thing to do because everybody's doing it and
Right,
they're not reading it for themselves and seeing how it may impact them, then they're trying these supplements and they're not really actually effective and they're doing more harm than good.
right.
Because supplements are not regulated in the sense of, I mean, they can put the supplement in there, but they also can put metal.
Mhm.
They have heavy metals. Um,
Yes.
they
That's
have
why I stopped
like
taking supplements, and I said, "Oh my goodness."
right. I don't take them either. I stopped now whey protein, I started back taking that because I think that the phytoestrogens in that, actually, will help with menstrual cycle, with
Why not eat edamame? Why
oh, well, yeah, soy no, that's true, but that's true, that's true, but
I
that actually is a really good point.
what I do is I take a look, like, when you talk to me about whey protein,
Uh-huh,
I was like, "Okay, what's in whey protein that my body needs?" And I literally will take what I feel my body needs, and I go online and I say, "Okay, these are the nutrients that are in this particular substance. My body needs these nutrients. How can I get this naturally through food?" Right? And so I literally will make I have a grocery list on here that tells me, okay, this will give me my vitamin B12. This will give me, and it's all whole food, plant based. Or if it's in meat. So I know for a fact I live in an environment right now, it's cold, right? And based on where I live, vitamin D is scarce. So I have
mhm,
to get it through food. And during the summer months, you don't find me drinking milk and eating eggs, but during the winter, I do.
mhm,
You know, I I I tend to focus on foods that are enriched with a respective vitamin, that are enriched and that can provide the substance that I need in order to fulfill that gap within my diet. And
mm,
so, but yeah, edamame, why not? You could, right? And once again, when you introduce something new, you can test it out. You know how they tell you, oh, before you dye your hair, do a skin patch test, right? Nobody's telling
right.
you to go out and buy 6 months supply of edamame, buy you a bag. You know what I mean?
Try it.
And see how your body reacts to it, right?
Mhm. I love edamame too.
Girl, I'll be popping them like pills. I'm like, I love them. But, you have to you have to be mindful, and then you just test. You experiment. If doctors can practice medicine on you, you practice medicine on your dang on self, right? And you will know what makes you feel good and what does not. And you either keep it or you eliminate it, right? At sometimes I can eat certain foods, and then I will look at brands too. And so if a
Mm,
certain brand has something that is, um and sometimes it's brand related, how they produce their particular food, and I'll be like, I can't eat that. They put something in that, but I can eat this over here." I'll give you an example, peanuts. I can eat peanuts from Whole Foods store, but I can't eat peanuts from Kroger's. I don't know what's in it.
I don't think they real peanut.
Huh? Say that again?
I don't think they real peanut.
Well, I don't know. I said, but there's something that they do differently in the manufacturing process. My body will literally tell me, mm-mm, that ain't where you get your stuff. You know what I mean? Like it will tell me, don't go there, don't eat this, etc. And I think we got to have this level of discernment that helps us to better understand, hey, your body is speaking to you. Listen, even if a doctor prescribes you something, listen to it. Go back to your doctor and tell your doctor, "Hey, you put me on Ativan. That mess that don't calm me down." You know what I mean? Like you have
Right.
you have to go back and talk to your doctors about things that are impacting you so that your doctor can prescribe you accurately or think differently about how to treat you, right? But I just
Right.
we don't think critically in that manner that helps us to, be more effective at, um, asking observing, assessing, and then asking the tough question. It's okay. You can ask the tough question, right? Was there anything else that you found that you was like, "Oh, this is amazing what I."
I think the portion about, like, alkaline diet,
Okay,
um, and you made mention of something, and I don't think it was articulated this way in the, reading, but, you you made the connection, about sustainable eating, sustainable nutrition,
okay,
which is gonna be super important, what we're coming up against, with, our food supply, with, uh, it's how important it will be for, people to start bridging, going from unhealthy eating to healthy eating,
okay.
because we may find ourselves in a place where we do not have the appropriate things to eat. So you need to start trying to prepare your palate for
Mhm,
something different,
mhm.
because vegetables may be the only thing
That you can eat.
you have access to.
Right, right. Everybody gonna have to
Might want to get used to eating some.
right. That's what I
Y'all not gonna have
daughter.
McDonald's and these Burger King too much longer,
Right.
because they not gonna keep paying $20, for a Happy Meal. You're not gonna be able to afford it.
They
Hell,
and
I don't know how half of my patients afford their damn cigarettes
that is so
per
mind-boggling.
pack.
Girl, I
You
was
paying almost $20 per pack of cigarette. You paying $20 to play with lung cancer.
for 1 pack. Amazing. It is
I
absolutely amazing.
I,
Mhm,
and I mean, yeah, you could get lung cancer from anything. You
mhm.
can get lung cancer from just breathing
Yeah,
contaminated air,
very, very,
but
very, very true.
you're highly more likely to get it smoking cigarettes. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah,
So, my diet was and what
sustainable.
about, alkaline
You
dieting?
said what was meaningful about it?
Uh,
Just to
mhm,
just how acid, how we're not, how we are not, cognizant of what acid is doing,
mhm,
how, the acidic environment internally, causes disease.
mhm,
So, prescribing to an alkaline diet, is, is desirable, and especially, I try to, kinda, attach it to or, um not attach it to well, yeah, attach it to aging.
mhm,
Like, with aging, it becomes super important
mhm,
for, uh for people to make that transition, because you could put we were eating the way we were eating, right?
mhm.
Because we played every single our parents had us in every single sport,
Right,
like, so we were kinda consuming way more calories than we should, and, but we ate appropriately.
right. We ate whole
Um,
foods. Mhm.
Right, but with aging, you may not need that consumption. Well, you don't need that consumption because 'cause you're not at the same activity levels. People don't make time to go to the gym at least 4 to 5 times a week. They're not doing anything for 30 to 45 minutes, but sitting on the couch and, scrolling TikTok or
Well,
Instagram.
it's
So
funny you said that. And there was a part in the book where he did talk about that, but he was talking about it from, a kid perspective. So we were the question I asked Tiffany earlier was about the 3 most profound teachings, and one of the things that he said was that we may be in the process of raising the first generation of children in America with
mhm.
shorter predicted lifespan than their parents.
Yeah.
And he says, "It's not about inactivity, though, that we actually are more active," is what he said. He said research shows that
No.
we
And I disagree with him on that because that can't be true. Because look at the okay, so the previous administration, or not Biden, but even previous to that, who was it? Obama.
Obama, the 60
Every
minute of play or something.
Yeah, well, every administration like the first lady has always had some sort of platform, right?
Mhm.
And all of it's been about movement or get up, active, getting kids to be more active, etc., right? So that's the point in the book where his content started to teeter totter.
Okay. You felt like it
That
was
I disagree with that. They are not active. Do you know how many people I have with high blood pressure and diabetes?
mhm.
We're so active. Why do we have diabetes?
I think he was focusing more on children. I don't know if he it didn't focus on adults, but he said I had to question that too. I was like, "Is everybody doing virtual, what is it called? Virtual gaming?"
Telehealth?
Uh,
Oh, virtual gang
game, well, because he was talking about kids, and he was just saying research is
I
showing
have I have 15-year-olds with a BMI of 60.
Wow.
A
Wow.
BMI of 60.
Mhm.
Like, that's not we it it's
A lot of
it's not that's
around
not I don't know where he got his statistics from,
okay.
but activity is at an all-time low.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
When you can when you can go in gyms and count and literally, like, look down one aisle and you're on the first machine and you look down and nobody's there.
mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Observation
Right.
by
Mm.
self.
Well, I mean, and you're in that environment, a great deal as well, but when I was reading that, about the whole idea of, inactivity and that, I do believe he is on point when he talks about, that it is also diet. What we are feeding our children, it is in addition to inactivity. Although he doesn't believe that that is really the number one, the issue, if you will, but it is more focused on our diet. I think it's comprehensive. I think we have to be mindful about our kids' diets, and I which is why I each week, I have a set meal plan. And in that meal plan, it's very thought out. I was like, when you have jobs when you're a kid, I was a candy striper at a medical, facility when I was a kid. I volun
Grandview, I was too.
Were you? Oh, okay. And so they where they put me? They put me in the food department. And so I had to print out all these different menus. And then it said for this person who has this type of condition, this is what you should have, etcetera. So I was always plating food, right? I didn't work with food. I just did it on a spreadsheet, right? Organizing things. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I wasn't interested in that when I was there, but what I found interesting is how I use that now and
Mhm.
in building my kids and their meals. And, I try and keep it interesting. Each day we have a thematic meal. Mondays are Asian night, Tuesdays are Taco Tuesdays, and we do some sort of Mexican dish. Wednesdays, it's Italian night. Thursday, I don't know what I do. I do something different. It used to be ham. or I change it up on Thursdays. But anyways, I always make to I always make sure to include some sort of, the food groups and
Mhm,
sure that they eat lots of veggies with their meals. But I don't so their diet is at the top of my concerns, my considerations, in addition to activity. Momo, he's not playing a sport right now, but, making sure that now that COVID is behind us, so to speak, making sure that they're, playing some sort of sport, some sort of activity. They have their virtual head, what is it called? Their VR, getting at
mhm.
least 15 minutes of exercise on that. So, just making sure that they are in constant movement and eating well. But that
Mhm.
was one of the profound things. Another thing that I found that was very interesting was where he talked about how nearly three-quarters of all emerging and re-emerging human diseases arise from the animal kingdom.
I don't know if I believe that because zoonotic infections are not that common.
What
He
is
talking about he's talking about transmission from a animal to a human, correct?
that? Yes,
Yeah,
that's
zoonotic. We would have to look at the incidence of that, or even like the the reality of that. I don't know that to be true.
okay. Well, I
I
mean,
don't know that to be true.
so he's sharing this. I think if there's some contradictory things, which is what I was going to ask you next, where you felt like, I don't know how much I agree about it, but that was mind blowing to me because I never even took into consideration where do they come from? And when he brought
I
that,
don't think
right,
he didn't expand on that enough for
well,
me to have enough information to make a clear to have a clear understanding about what he was trying to say about that.
he said most modern human infectious diseases were unknown before domestication led to a mass spillover of animal disease into human populations. For example, tuberculosis appears to have been originally acquired through the domestication of goats, but now infects nearly one-third of humanity. Meanwhile, measles and smallpox may have arisen from mutant cattle viruses. We domesticated pigs and got whooping cough. We domesticated chickens and got typhoid fever. And we domesticated ducks and got influenza. And then he said something, and I was like, leprosy. Leprosy is in the Bible. But I was like, so this is very, 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 this is a very old disease. May have come from water buffalo and the cold virus from horses.
Mm,
I said, I need to do some research on this. I said, because I ain't ever.
yeah, because I did agree with him on the part where he was saying that the living space that they house pigs
Mhm.
uh, in, and how that can contribute to disease because they actually carry organisms that are not necessarily they aren't necessarily harmful to the pig, but they do become harmful to us. I did also agree with the fact that that animal cells can have cancer, and then we're consuming them. Like when people eat undercooked meat,
Oh,
or the contaminants that are just naturally found in meats, or eating organ meats, eating the muscle.
okay,
uh, you find there are natural contaminants
okay.
uh, that enter human beings that way because of the way we prepare food,
Mhm.
kind of like pork has worms.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so, I mean, I think there is an element of truth in what he shared, but that was mind-blowing to me. I was like, "I never thought about where diseases come from," and you're stating that it's coming from, as you mentioned, the transmission of from when we are eating certain foods that have been contaminated, meats that have been contaminated, and it's literally, being transmitted to us through the food we eat, which was just something that was very interesting to me. So, but yeah, more research to be done on that because I would like to better understand that a little
I
more.
do too. Yeah,
If
because
you have it on his website, we'll have to go and check it out and see if he goes into more depth about that. But that was so profound. I was like, oh my gosh, that is interesting and something we should be cognizant about, right? And then
yeah,
another,
the
oh, go
about the chicken, the content about the chicken
uh-huh.
even.
Yeah.
So the fact that, they manipulate the chicken, for sale, right? So when they sell it, that's the way they're able to come up with the price for chicken is because they're injecting it with sodium, to make the chicken look bigger.
Mhm. Mhm.
The different processing that goes into, our
Is it the
meat.
chicken or is it the way that we are harvesting or managing and preparing
No,
and for selling?
no, mm-mm. You don't remember reading, or reading that part about him saying that, processors, um,
Yeah,
because
inject, which is why you
injected
on packages, "Oh, no BHF."
so it contains an unknown amount of sodium way
Mhm,
before it even gets to the consumer. So when the consumer then prepares it and we throw salt on it,
mhm.
that that then would impact our health, right? Because it already preliminary not preliminary, but it already, come with salt in it. And
Right.
then when we prepare it,
We're
we're
adding
adding salt.
additional. Okay,
Right, and so we already know how salt contributes to hypertension.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
A high salt intake, contributes to hypertension.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are
So
things we should be mindful of, right? When we are going to the
right, but
store,
the
type of
consumer is not mindful.
huh?
Y We're not mindful of that.
No, but that's why I said and this is why literature is just such a beautiful thing because around the world, it's social media is good, but really when you get into the books, when you start
Right.
reading the content, you really get to have a level of understanding where you really can digest this and reflect. I think when you read it in a book, you get the sense to reflect. Social media, you're scrolling, right? You're scrolling and you're not even reading or the whole thing. I don't know how many times you just see folks, there's some good content, but they're like only listening to not even a quarter of it, right?
Mm,
But yeah, so that was one that was just really intriguing. Then the last one is we've already discussed it. It's in your genes, how doctors and patients, he says, have a fatalistic approach to chronic degenerative diseases, um,
mhm,
and how we believe it's all in our genes. But research shows that although we might have been dealt some poor genetic cards, we have
mm,
the ability to reshuffle the deck with diet. That was another one that and we shared that earlier. There was
mm,
components of the book we already talked about which we thought, we'll have to do some more research around," where we thought it was
right.
contradictory, or maybe it wasn't contradictory, but, the application or how he came to the consensus, that, this maybe the best. Is it really? What are we not taking into account when we talk about what is the best? And I just gave the example of when I went on a vegan diet, and I didn't feel good either. That was another thing that I didn't share, but I didn't feel good, and I had 2 injuries in 1 month, which it's rare that I get injured, and I was like, "What is that about?" I had 2 not 1, 2 injuries. So
Mhm.
and then the moment I reincorporated, uh, milk and, eggs back into my diet, I felt better. I do believe sun is critical. Vitamin D is critical, and
I mean, we can talk about that. Okay, so why did one of the, providers at work tell me, "Oh, it doesn't matter if you check the vitamin D."
gir what? I'm so
Vitamin D is a miracle supplement. You don't want me checking it because y'all wanna keep these people sick because and I shouldn't say it like that. but the way she didn't really have no rationale for why you wouldn't check the vitamin D. But
Mhm.
when you have a vitamin D of 5, of 1, of 8, 9, less than 10, first off, less than 10 is consistent with rickets in children. So,
Okay.
like, it's bone disease. It's an actual bone disease.
Mm.
Um, in adults, it contributes to arthralgias. Like, so when patients just all of a sudden they wake up, they're like, "Ah, man," like in the wintertime, "Oh, I have, I've been having these pain. I've been having bone pain."
Mhm.
And they come in, I'm like, "Well, let me check your vitamin D."
Mhm.
Vitamin D8. I replace the vitamin D, arthralgia gone.
Mhm.
Like,
Gotta be careful.
vitamin D is and vitamin D is actually not a vitamin, it's a hormone.
Oh. Now I've never heard that. I've never read that. But why don't we produce it then?
We do. No,
What levels? How is it produced?
hold on a second.
Mhm.
It doesn't, like, during the it's like it's absorbed.
It's absorbed because the sun d okay. It's a hormone though, Tiffany?
Yeah, that's what I read.
Mhm.
It's a that is essential for bone health. It can be produced in the skin when exposed to ultraviolet rays from sunlight.
Okay.
So when it's exposed to, UVB rays, a substance called 7-dehydrocholesterol, 7-DHC, is converted into pre-vitamin D3. Liver metabolism. Pre-vitamin D3 is transported to the liver where it is converted into 25-hydroxyvitamin D, 25-OHD, and that's what I draw.
Mhm.
Kidney activation. 25-OHD is then transported to the kidneys where it is converted into the active form of vitamin D known as 125-hydroxyvitamin D.
Mm.
Factors that affect vitamin D production. So the reason why people with melanin
Mhm.
um, don't produce as much, right? The darker your skin
We
is
don't.
because skin pigmentation. People with darker skin produce less vitamin D than those with lighter skin.
Interesting.
So that's the reason why white people say vitamin D doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter to them.
Meanwhile, we killing ourselves by not getting enough of it, and so
Oh,
that's
I replace it all the time. I mean, if there is a company out there that probably come up with a vitamin D supplement and I prescribe it, they would be a billionaire because I prescribe it for everybody.
mhm. Yep.
Vitamin D. Now, you don't want your levels to be too high because vitamin D is responsible for calcium absorption into the bone. You don't want an overload of calcium because calcium also affects the kidneys.
Kidneys, right, right, okay,
Mhm.
yep.
So,
So, but that
anyway,
but that was one of the things, and I know, if you live in an area where you don't get enough sun, that is problematic, and so that's why I still and I know they say, "Oh, you can get it from mushrooms or, you could just go outside and walk."
dairy.
Huh? Well, if you're trying to do whole foods plant-based, you don't want to do dairy, right? Because 'Cause they're trying to steer people away from dairy. They're trying to steer people away from eggs, etcetera.
Mhm,
And I caution that because I said, we gotta be really careful about where people live. We have to be careful about what people are predispositioned to have. And while we say you can get it from mushrooms and you can get it from sun, you just got to be very cognizant about, and this is where that critical thinking comes into play. Does that make sense for me? Right? Just making sure that we are constantly asking ourselves the tough question. And even though
mhm,
it might be recommended, does it make sense for me? And for me right now, it doesn't make sense. Every winter, I go back. In the summer, I look much more thinner. I look much more glowing, I know, um, because I can take out certain things because
mhm,
side more and the sun is just, that time, the spring to the summer. But when it comes fall and winter, I have to start incorporating where I live, which is why I know I have to live in a warm environment. I have to live in a sun-induced environment. That is what works most effective. So I should probably be living more south or in, that type of climate. But for right
right.
now, that doesn't work for me, so I have to do what I have to do based on the resources that I have. Um, I wanted to we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to talk about, and we already talked about it, so maybe we can miss this, but if there was anything else that you wanted to add about the question where I said, the primary reason diseases tend to run in families, maybe that diets run and whatever genes we may have inherited from our parents, what we eat can affect how those genes affect our health. The power is mainly in our hands and on our plates. Your family history does not have to become your personal destiny. And we talked about that earlier. Was there anything else that you wanted to share about that respective quote? Because I found that quote to be
It
so,
was profound.
wasn't it?
Uh-huh. Definitely
I was
impactful. Mhm.
like, this is an amazing quote because it just really shows how much power we do
Mhm.
within our hands, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to share as it related to that respective quote, or you think we pretty much hit,
We
we
covered it.
we covered it? All right, and so the last one was about, the fact that there are 2 parts to this book. The first one is there's a review of 15 diseases, the top 15 diseases that are killing Americans, and how do we manage the diseases? And then a comprehensive overview of the top foods he recommends. And I just thought, I wanted to talk about that section because I'll be honest with you, I read the first section. I was like, this section I can just read anytime. But then I was like, no, go ahead and read all of it. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy to do that. Because I was thinking very much similar to after I read the first 15 diseases. I was thinking I could just pinpoint the areas, you know,
Mhm.
to focus on. But no, oh my God, that was like one of the best parts of the book is another best part of the book as well. What was your take on it? About the food
So
he recommends and
okay, so the food recommendation because, and like I was telling you, when I was reading it, I was trying to find content that I would be able to use, when I'm, discussing, changing your diet with patients, right? Because, a lot of times, when I do refer out to a dietitian or I refer out to nutrition, they never get to see that person. And the
okay,
reason they never get to see that person is because there is not a person. Um, it's just a choice. It's just an order in a computer that I'm allowed to choose, and hopefully referrals is able to find a provider that can talk to these patients about their nutrition. But
right.
anyway, so when I was, looking for things, I like to make sure that patients don't get discouraged with, what they're eating because what I find is the whole yo-yo effect. Like they start off doing real good.
Mhm,
They're on board. That I got buy-in. They're gonna change their diet.
mhm,
They have diabetes. They got this burning, tingling numbness. They're having symptomatic diabetes. They're having sugars, 2 and 300, etc, and we're trying to get those, levels down to, but that's what they've been living at, so that's what they're used to, right?
okay.
But they also don't know the damage that's already done that can't be undone,
Mm,
right? Because diabetes, that's how diabetes is. Yeah, you can reverse the disease process, but you can't reverse the damage that's already been done to the vessels.
okay.
So patients don't get discouraged, and so that they don't, abandon ship too soon, I
Mhm,
try to look for foods that they will subscribe to and continue. Even if I'm telling them, "Eat the same thing. Just eat
mhm,
the same thing and watch your portion size." Like,
right.
just eat the same thing. If it you know what I use? I used your method where you used to carry around that little, cup, and you're
Mhm,
like, "If it don't fit in this cup, I don't, I won't be eating past anything that's." Yeah, that's it. You keep a cup.
mhm,
So, I told patients that. I did use, some of his, kind of not knowing, I just kind of, used some of his, suggestions for, that in the PDF, there were some things about the daily dozen and then also unprocessed plant foods, like using a stoplight to go from green, yellow, red, so patients know this is good, green means go, this is good for you.
mhm,
Red means, that's not good for you. And it would be condition based, right? So medical condition based, suggestions or recommendations.
Mhm.
But for me, these are very strict precautionary dietary measures for you because if you don't do this, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you don't do it.
Okay.
Now, at your stage of kidney disease or your stage of diabetes, because diabetes that does have stages, and
Right.
there's actually three types of diabetes.
Mhm.
But anyway, so like, beans don't work for me.
Mm.
I can't digest beans.
Okay.
So the patient also has to know what works for them.
Correct.
So you working through a lot. It can get real, real complex.
Mhm.
Um, but I like his, content about the daily dozen. I'm always pushing that issue about cruciferous vegetables and giving examples. Broccoli is my favorite.
Right.
Broccoli's live. Broccoli is the
Miracle
is
veggie.
the right. Broccoli is the red is the new green. Like broccoli. Broccoli is a superfood. And then other vegetables, like you mentioned, edamame. I think it would be super important to educate. I think it would be super important to educate um, women. You can combat those issues that we have with fibroids, with our heavy menstrual cycles after age. I don't know, because some people go for so long before they go into menopause. But when you're peri or premenopausal, all that bleeding you're doing because you're not ovulating, so your menstrual periods are going to be 10 times heavier because you don't release an egg as often as you did when you were younger, right?
Right.
So you have these heavy ass periods, and you're like, damn, where did that come from? But did you know you can slow it down? Did
Mhm.
you know you can trick
That's
your
very
body with
good.
but through your diet? Yeah, so I use that. Whole grains I really don't do. I feel like grains, I don't know. I don't know. You gotta know what works for you.
Grains do not work for me. I switched to grains when I removed, dairy and, I had dairy and eggs. I said, "Oh, no. Mm-mm." I took them things right back on out. I said, I can't do grains." And it's really because of how they're harvested in our country. I
Well, yeah,
think
all the chemicals.
yeah,
The
and they
chemicals
just
that
they
are
too many chemicals. I said if I could ever find, a pure grain and see what that worked or how that is, even when it was organic, because I buy all my stuff organic anyway. Something it doesn't sit well with me. I said something is
Mhm.
still off with the way we harvest it. Um,
Right.
and I don't know what the difference is because I can go. So I lived in Senegal. I mean, all we ate was rice. And I was just thinking to myself, how could I eat, right? I was able to drink milk. I had no issues, etc. But anytime here, I ate French bread every day, croissants with chocolate, and I
No,
was
but that's because their ingredients, they're authentic.
it's
Like there's no
it's different.
additives.
Something is different, very, very different. I can eat
Yeah.
foods that I love there. When I come home,
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I got
cannot.
all types of I can't digest
You
nothing
can't touch it.
against bread.
Toya, that honey, remember that honey I told you I was putting in my tea?
Yeah, because it was giving
It
you
wasn't even honey. It
well,
wasn't even honey. It was high fructose corn syrup, and they're allowed to put on there
and
that is honey. And I said, "That is so wrong." I literally developed a whole allergy. I thought something was going on. I almost requested Doctor Brown to do like a ENT specialty consult because I thought something was going on with my sinuses. And
right.
then so I said stopped it. 3 days later, 0 symptoms.
Issues. Yeah, so we have to there's something going on, and I think it goes back to what we had shared earlier that we are just living in a really highly capitalistic society that does not put people first. We speak a good game, but we truly are doing ourselves a disservice by hurting our our people to
Will
make a buck. To make a buck, we are hurting our people.
willing to do that,
Yeah,
like
and we're willing to do that. "Oh, some of us got to die." Yeah, no, I get that, but I think that it will happen naturally. I really feel like we have an imbalance. It's gonna happen naturally. Tiffany, look at me. Girl, one thing that is guaranteed, one thing that is guaranteed is you gonna okay? You ain't getting around that, up, down, you ain't getting right, you gonna die, and it's just something that's going to happen naturally, but for us to have the mindset that we have to create this environment to make a buck at literally, it's killing people because a lot of people and then on top of that, we've taught people not to think critically, so now
Uh,
even focused on, well, how do I get myself out of this if my doctor doesn't have my best interest at heart? You know, yeah, they got to turn to platforms like this, or people who, I mean, we might have a background. You have the background, but I don't. But the knowledge that I'm gaining and things that I'm hearing when the universe begins to speak, I think to myself, God, we just are doing ourselves a disservice when we are not taking the utilitarian approach to helping and being a good steward within society. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Tiffany, was there anything else that you wanted to share? No, we
no,
good. All right.
no,
All
I
right.
just, diabetes awareness, I wanna get that out there, for my Black folk,
Mhm,
Black power. It's in healthier nutrition,
mhm,
um, and, really, really, diabetes is actually killing our community.
mhm. Right,
That and, hypertension. The
right.
amount women alone that I have, with hypertension is, it really is kinda, like, discouraging. It's devastating actually, 'cause,
Mhm.
I don't know, well, I know how to manage it, but I am trying to get buy-in from, people and for people to, support one another,
Right.
get the message out, like, eat more healthy, eat at home,
Mhm. Yeah, eat at
'cause
home.
that actually is key. Now because I travel all the time, it's kinda, more difficult, to me, but so for people who have that excuse, um, or who have that
Option.
circumstance, yeah, eat healthier options when you're going out and make that, more priority, and leave, the highly processed food alone. We don't know enough about nutrition and why it's not talked well, we already know why it's not talked about because they gain nothing, by people being healthy. But, yeah, thank you for the, book recommendation.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I'm gonna continue to, re-listen, because I listen to mine. I'm
right.
going to continue to, listen to it so that I can, arm my patients with, more, information that's delivered in a language that they understand.
Mhm.
Uh, because I think a lot of times too with patients that we're not, delivering, information in a language, that is comprehensible.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
Okay, very good. And folks, with regards to that book, and I had shared earlier where I had found the book, I am going to drop in the description that the link to the guy where I saw the book. He is a he he is a chef. I'm going to say he's a chef. I actually didn't do any research on his background. I just love his platform. I love watching him, but I'm going to drop information with regards to his show in the description, so you guys can check out his show and how he got started transitioning to a more whole foods plant-based diet. He's really big on making your own food, and I think that's his tagline: "Make your own." And he really is. He's been helpful in my life with regards to transitioning to a more whole foods plant-based diet and being able to have the luxuries because he's really creative with regards to the foods that he creates, but he's very creative with the foods that the plant-based meals that he make that are complementary to some of the things that we used to eat on a regular, whether it be, like buffalo wings, there's a plant-based version, many different things, sausage, there's a plant-based plant-based version and how you can make that. So he's really, really creative.
Got some plant-based chicken upstairs.
But no, like, it's really awesome. Like, I learned a lot from him. I was like, "Wow, you can do all of this with plants," you know? So, but just being able to transition into that space and being more thoughtful about what we put into our bodies is, so critical for having an effective, healthy, and long, life, uh and so hopefully you'll find value in that. I'll drop that in the description for you. All right. Now that's a wrap. Join us in 2 weeks as we dive into another essential aspect of our journey, our spiritual practice. While I don't follow a specific religion, my spirituality is deeply personal and my connection with God is unwavering. Every day, I seek divine guidance and strive to strengthen this bond. The truth is, God is much closer than we often realize, always present and always within reach. Like any journey, my spiritual practice has had its highs and lows. But as I learned to drown out the noise and realign with my core values, my faith deepened and my path became clearer. Now, I want to continue strengthening my practice by exploring our truest nature and discovering how living in harmony with natural laws can bring success and fulfillment in every area of life. To guide us, we'll be exploring a timeless classic by Deepak Chopra, The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success, a practical guide to fulfilling your dreams. Make sure to grab a copy and join us for the next phase of our journey in Ascension, the Glow Up. We can't wait to embark on this exploration with you. For replays and to learn more about Kinky Knots Cafe's Proactivist Way, please visit www.kinkyknotscafe.com. Stay proactive, my friends. Take good care.